Hi everyone, this is part 2 of the mini journal notebook tutorial. So it's part 2, so just to recap, we've got to the point where we've done the cover. So we're using an A4 sheet initially, folding it in half and then cutting it down so that it's an A5 sheet, and then folding that in half, if that makes sense. And that's what we've ended up with here. But you can obviously make this any size you want, and you can use cereal packets, which I've got tons of. Anything that will fold like this, it doesn't have to be this size. So, but I've been showing you an A5 sheet folded in half, basically. An A4 sheet cut down and folded in half, if that makes sense. So we've got to the point where we've done the front and back cover with some lovely material. Now what I've decided to do, I was just going to go and put the front and back sheet in and the ribbon, but I've changed what I'm doing now because I don't like, so with this one, for example, what I've done is haven't done separate inside covers. I've done it as a whole sheet and it's puckering there, so I don't like that, so I won't be doing it that way. But this is what it's about. It's about learning and trying different ways and what suits you. So this is what suits me. So with this one, I'll just show you. I did it separate inside covers, but I didn't cover the spine, which you don't have to, but that's bothering me personally. So I'll show you another way. So I've then done another one. I've done separate, I've done an inside spine, and I've done separate sheets, which I prefer this way. So that's another one that I've made. So this is the way I'm going to show you now, but I'm still going to use the one we did together, but advise you to put the spine cover, this little cover, this strip, down the spine first before we do the first step that we did, if that makes any sense. But I'm going to put this in anyway, even though it will fray, but that's fine. They are sort of mini junk journal notebooks anyway, so it's okay if they look a bit raggedy. So, but obviously if you put this strip in first before you put the cover on, you're not going to see the end pieces. So I advise to, before you do what we did on part 1, put your strip down the centre on the inside and then do your cover section. But I'm just going to show you this bit anyway. Pretend that the cover's not on, but it's okay anyway, even though. So again, I'm just going to use the Mod Podge with the little spongy thing, but you can use your finger or whatever you prefer doing. So like I say, if I had done this bit first, which I should have done really, but we live and learn, don't we? Then the edges would be all nice and neat, but that's okay. We can live with that. So I'm just going to put the spine bit in there, along there, so that then just looks a bit neater. But you'll find your own way. If you don't want to do it this way, you might want to use paper, you might not want to use fabric. You don't have to use fabric. I'm just going to snip that, and then that should be all glued down. So that's just a little bit of a setback, but it's not the end of the world. And again, you don't have to do it that way if you don't want to. So we don't need the Mod Podge now, so I'll just get that out of the way. I'm trying not to make these videos too long because on Facebook they take ages to upload, and I'm going to put longer videos on YouTube because they do seem to upload a lot quicker. So before I put my my front and back inside cover on, you've got to remember to do, if you want a fastener, So a ribbon fastener, a bit of ribbon, a bit of lace, or a bit of fabric, or anything that you want to use. Just put that on before you put your front and back cover on. So I'm just going to get a bit of Fabri-Tac. But again, this should just work with, if you want to just use Mod Podge. It's just a little bit more secure, that's all, in my mind. So if you put it there, this is a bit of a trick I saw from, oh, who was I watching? Paper Terrace. She's the one that I got the mini notepad idea off in the first place. So that just shows you where both sections of the ribbon are going to end up. I feel like I'm a bit babbly this morning. And then put your ribbon on. That was my shoulder cracking. So that should then marry up like that. So you get all these little tricks and things off other people making journals, because I'm far from an expert, but I'm happy for you to ask any questions and I'll do my best to answer them. And then I've just picked out some paper that I've got from a 12 by 12 pad, but anything that you find, anything that you want to put it on your covers, an old book cover, you could use an old book page, anything. I mean, this will give this little notepad just a little bit more sturdiness, if that's a word. So I've cut this out of 12 by 12 sheet. This is quite thick, so I thought we'd keep this one quite nice and bright. So just check that we've cut it right and it's not going to interfere with the spine of the little notebook. Otherwise these will start to pucker up. And again, that's not the end of the world, but we want it to be nice and neat. So I'm going to glue that. I'm just thinking, have I done that the right way around? Yeah. So I'm just going to glue this in again with the Fabri-Tac. If there's any left. Yes, there we go. Now you can obviously do a bit of collage on the back if you wanted to. You really can do whatever you want. And then this one I'm going to do as a notepad, but you can do it a bit more junk journal-y, so you can add different types of pages in if you wanted to. And then these could be used as like your mini junk journal for your handbag, so that you want to carry around. So if you find tickets or you have an idea, you could jot that into your mini journal to transport into your larger one. Or this is just a nice a way to start doing it if you want to, or it is just your notepad for your shopping lists or ideas. I'm babbling again. Stop me from babbling. So make sure there's plenty around the edges of this. And then that can go in. It is still quite movable, that glue, so there we go. And then that should just close nicely. And then we've managed, so with this section, this part 2, we've managed to, obviously that would have already been in, that should have been in part 1, and I think actually we've got away with that. So if you have already followed along and done part 1, you can rectify it if you want to, or you can just crack on and do your ribbon and your in and out, in front and back cover. So that's that. And then also I'm adding little pockets, but again, you don't have to if you don't want to. So I'm going to add a little pocket either side. So I've already pre-cut that one, and I've literally just got an old book page from a barbecue book, believe it or not, that I found in a co-op. So it was a random barbecue book. So I've just been ripping this all out. I love that the I like the recipe part of it. I think I like this. And then for junk journaling, I can actually use the images as well. So I like all the recipe parts. That's just me. But again, you can use whatever you want, as long as it's sturdy enough. It's quite sturdy as well, this paper from the book. Some of the book pages aren't. So make sure that it's quite sturdy. And I think I'm going to put this section in about the iced fruit soup, which sounds really strange. But I found that retro-y sort of book, yeah, just when I was doing a bit of shopping. Because a lot of supermarkets now have got little charity book sections. So it's always worth having a little nosy through. Especially if you're taking up junk journaling. It's worth just using these little library sections in the supermarket. I don't know what it means. I don't know what library section means. But they do seem to have a lot of, just make sure that's cut similar to the other pocket. And obviously it isn't. I don't know what I did there. So just trim it up. Sorry, I keep bringing this really close to my face and then you can't see, which is the idea of the video, for you to be able to see. Let me move some things from the window. I think that's blocking a bit of a light, I've just noticed. Is that a bit better? Just bring some light in, there we go. Right, so I've done that, and then if you want to, and if you've got one, oh, see, that doesn't look straight either. Let's have a look. That's okay, let's not panic. Might just trim it a little bit. That's okay. Right, so fold that and just nip the end there. And then if you've got these little circle punches, I've got a big one and a small one, a medium one. Oh yeah, that's medium, yeah. I did have a little one, but I gave that one away. So just hold it upside down so you can see where it's got into the middle, because you only want a half circle. And then if you can just see where I've folded it, it just gives you an idea of where you need to do your little punch. Then that turns that into a little pocket. You don't have to do that. And I'm just going to put a little bit of the ink around, just because this is already aged paper and it just adds that little finish to it. You don't have to do this. This is what I love about this sort of crafting. There just isn't any rules. You can do what you want. So I think I didn't really cut that square on this square, but it's fine. So make sure when you're doing a pocket that you only glue the 3 sides, and you don't need to obviously glue the centre section. So I've caught myself out so many times doing all the way. I've done all the way around all 4 sides, even though they've got that punch in there, and filling in the whole of the piece of paper as opposed to just doing the 3 sides. So just do the 3 sides. I really am rambling today, sorry everybody. So 3 sides again, and that is your little, if the glue will come out, that's part 2 of the mini, whoops, the mini notebooks. I mean, that could be a little bit neater, but we're not going to worry, are we? These are handmade, so if you want perfect, then you get it from the shop, don't you? So there we go. So that's part 2. So that's our little notepad. So we've managed to do a centre section, which should have been done in part 1, as you know. We've done the ribbon, we've put the front and back cover, and we've done a little pocket if you want to. If you've got any questions at all, pop it in comments or feel free to send me a message. I don't mind. And that's it for part 2. Thank you for tuning in.